the game designers looked at the game at the end and definitely told each other, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, I agree. There was one part where I dropped a fare off, and for some reason I landed just on 2 wheels. And I got a great combo string out of it. There was no reason I was on 2 wheels, but it just finished on 2 wheels, and I got like $5, and I was like, hell yeah. This is what it's all about. I wasn't even like...
Oh, if you insist, Crazy Taxi.
Exactly. That's what's so crazy about the taxi world that we live in.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of everyone's favorite podcast, the Critical Arcade Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick.
And I'm Dave. I'm confused. I'm dazed and confused by all accounts, Nick, but I am Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. Are you well? Are you, Nick?
I'm not going to do that voice again.
I think the world would be better off if you didn't. So Nick, why are you making... What was that, Nick? Why? What happened?
That is... excuse me. That is the voiceover announcer for... You know what? How about we just start? How about we do something crazy and start with this week's game? Dave, what have we played?
Well, by all accounts, I don't know. It'd be kind of a pull if you managed to guess this one by our introduction. But this week's game is a classic by every metric and sense of the word. It's I'm just gonna say it's Crazy Taxi. I think most gamers, in regards to coming into the 30s or something, has to have played at least one version of Crazy Taxi in some degree, be it the arcade cabinet, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, GameCube, it came out on everything in some degree or form in its history. But we got to play the original. Not the original. Arcade cabinet is fundamentally the original. I'd say the original.
But the release of the arcade version on Dreamcast.
Yes, on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 and the other things. I think came out. It was popular. It came out on everything.
Oh yeah, we get to play it a couple of times because of how popular it was.
Are you old enough to have played this game? Because again, I can remember the arcade
not when it...
Of course not.
Not when it released, of course. But I have played some version or other
I think everyone
at some
has.
point in history.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was this first one.
As one should. One should always start at the very first. But it is, again, doing this episode, I thought to myself, this is a game that has kind of touched every person's gaming.
This is one of those games.
It really does. It is a big thing. Itself, it was originally developed and published by Sega, because Sega was into the whole arcade cabinets at the beginning, and then it was released by published by Sega, and then developed by Sega and then released by, what was it? Hitman, or a bunch of companies kind of released it depending on which console they went to. And to say this was a big arcade game would be an understatement. This was a massive arcade game.
This was up there with Time Crisis, House of the Dead.
Yeah, it was at one point in, I can't remember if it was Japan or America, this was top 3, which in Japan, I think it was Japan, that's a massive thing. Arcades were so big in Japan, which is, I love that pun.
No, I can totally see it. I can absolutely see that from being the case. What was this? 99?
Yes, I think it was 99, which is, again, feels very, very not too long ago to me. But and again, like I said, it was so popular, it went onto every platform, be it PlayStation 2, GameCube, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360.
Good.
It even released on Android and Apple stores, by all accounts. It sold millions of units, which I was genuinely shocked at.
Really?
By the 2000s, this game sold millions, which is today's metric. You'd go, well, so does Borderlands and stuff like that. This sold actually mountains of versions of this game. This is how popular Crazy Taxi actually was. It was a buzz. People had to play this game, and
I'm not surprised. But you're right. In today's metrics, that seems like a fair amount.
That's right.
Back then, 25 years ago,
exactly.
That's huge numbers.
It's a blockbuster.
It's massive numbers.
No, it is. And did you know this game was actually so popular that they wanted to make like a live action version, either for movie and TV, and a script
No
was
way.
written up, and it was talked about in 2001. People started talking about it, kind of died. Nobody, got funding, stuff like that. And it came back in 2014 as Sega was thinking of making a movie about it because of the lull on the market, and Crazy Taxi 4 or something came out. And then sadly it died. I don't know how the film would have gone. like
What would you...
I don't know.
I don't... This is the perfect segue into narrative.
Yes, yeah, it's...
I don't know what a movie like that would look like because there is no narrative.
No, exactly.
In Crazy Taxi.
It's a great segue into narrative because there is no narrative.
There we go.
Okay, again, it's hard to build a narrative when it was originally an arcade machine. Originally for you just to put your quarters or your coins in so that you could get the high score, to hit the leaderboard, show your mates, that type of thing.
The most narrative a game like this could probably get was just with the artwork on the side of the arcade cabinet.
Yes, yeah, that type of thing. And the area it is, and kind of, the characters kind of have like a visual story to them. But that is out of curiosity, who did you choose? Axel, B-Day Joe, Gino, or Gus? I have to know. Who was your...
I pulled your trick with this game.
Ah, you didn't remember their names. Fantastic.
No, I didn't remember their names. There were 4 drivers. They are white guy.
Yes.
Black guy.
That's correct.
Old man.
That's right.
And girl.
Right. So which one do you choose? There you go. Out of those 4.
Those are the 4. I picked a different one each time.
Oh, so you tried them all out. You see, I'll see which glove fit best.
I did, yes.
BD Joe had the creepiest smile. His smile was haunting.
That's the point.
So I had to choose him. But like we were saying, narratively, you do play a taxi driver. You are in a fictional West Coast city, based on San Francisco. You find customers, you drive them from A and take them to B. That's about it. There is
that really is it. To our younger listeners, that sounds like such a small concept to make an entire video game about, much less one that has sold millions, one that's turned into a classic. But that is the case. That really is the case. This is kind of what games were for a very long time.
That's exactly right.
Right? It was one concept turned into one core game mechanic, and that's the game.
No, that's exactly it. But if you think about it, in just arcades in general, you are selling gameplay over narrative, right? I think everyone's played Time Crisis. I don't know why I was 2 cool guys. I don't know who the bad guys I was shooting. I know there was always a damsel in distress.
But you had 40 seconds to do it.
Exactly. Same with House of the Dead. I know I'm going into a house full of dead. That's about it. You didn't really have the narrative to pull you through. It was just all gameplay. It was all now.
And you didn't care either.
No, exactly right.
You were there to play some games.
And you got to take into account, the old arcade cabinet actually had the steering wheel and the gear stick. So this was your old rally drive. This was a fully immersive.
It had the gear stick as well.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It had a gear, but the gear stick itself, was just accelerate or reverse.
That makes sense.
So you didn't actually change gear. You just went I'm going forwards and going backwards.
That took me some getting used to. I'll bring this up again in gameplay, but just the buttons to kind of accelerate and then switch transmission to reverse. It makes sense that the arcade cabinet had the shift.
Yes,
because it didn't translate that well into gameplay. But we'll get into that later.
So that's the narrative. You try to become, I don't know, there's a degree, you kind of the best taxi driver. You earn the most money. That's kind of your aim in this.
I guess so.
Again, it's for you to be able to write, ASS at the credits on the board because it's funny and stuff like that. You just want to be called ass and you want it on the top of the board. That was the narrative for these games, arcade cabinets and controllers alike.
It really was, I guess. Probably the closest thing the game has to any type of identity outside of the Crazy Taxi branding. It's just the exaggerated San Francisco inspired setting, like you mentioned earlier. The hills and the slopes with the trams.
Right, yeah, it's kind of got that 80s movie type feel to everything, right? Just we're diving into visuals for the moment. There's no narrative to go about. But
yeah, not really. Let's go visuals.
That's the San Francisco thing, because I think it's San Francisco's got all those deep, the roads that kind of tilt at like 45 degrees, and you always see in old movies where they jump.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah.
It's that same like aesthetic where if you are going to be driving like a stuntman or going crazy around the roads, you need a good playground, and Basic on San Francisco was the way to go, right?
Yeah, because the city has built-in ramps.
Yes, it is literally like a playground. If you had access to all of it all on your own, it is a perfect place for such things.
No, totally.
In this game, you got to go to KFC, Pizza Hut, or Tower Records. Like, when was the last time you saw, like, whoa, that's so cool, I get to take people to Pizza Hut.
These are real places. I've been there. I've been to KFC.
Right? Immersion. Whoa. I can get pizza and KFC in real life and buy a record. Hell yeah.
That's funny. That is funny. I don't know if it was funny back then, but it's funny now.
Yes,
I like
it's
it.
Aged.
It doesn't
kind of
really feel like product placement. I know it is.
No, I know what you mean. It isn't big corporate and like shove this in your face. No.
It feels like Pepsi Man.
Yes,
or
yes,
Sneak
it does feel.
King,
yeah, that's right.
Where technically, yes, it's an advertisement. Technically, yes, those corporations paid for their faces to be there, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, that's something about like old 80s, 90s games. Like it's always, again, ladies and gents, Nick and I have a degree of nostalgic goggles on all the times, because this was simpler times where games were made for gamers.
And I'm going to keep those goggles on.
Oh, hell yeah. It's that type of stuff that makes you smile when playing this game. Because this game just oozes ridiculousness in a lot of ways. Like, I picked my first fare. I picked up a guy. You go, oh, you pick him up. Where are we going? He's KFC, and then he gets in, and then he starts like moaning about how my driving is, and then when my driving gets more mental, he goes, yeah, shit, come on, yeah. And then when I pitch up at the final stop, he backflips out of the car.
Oh hell yeah!
It's just that
that's
level
great.
of just
that's
like
great. This game just absolutely visually pops. Not only the oversaturated colors, but the absolute chaotic nature of everything just flying all over the place, including pedestrians. It feels, it's got big, strong arcade energy.
That's it. It is that arcade kind of energy. It's just the ridiculousness, the fun of doing the ridiculousness. Like you said, you cannot run over a pedestrian in this game. Every single time you are even close to doing so, they dive or they jump or they get so, because you're not allowed to run people over in games, especially now in the 80s, 90s and 2000s. But it's also jumps out. It's kind of heavy, like you said, 80s vibes. Colors pop. Insane grin as you're driving around.
Hell yeah.
Driving past your KFCs. It's all just got a vibe to it that you just don't get that much anymore. Which, again, is nostalgia talking, but it is fun to see.
It feels like, you know, when you look back to the summers you had as a kid or as a teenager.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right? It kind of feels like that childhood summer feeling in a video game.
It does. It's again, just like kids now will look back at like Astrobot. Oh boy, which one is it? Astrobot, right?
It's Astrobot, Mario Odyssey,
and
Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Exactly. They'll have those same nostalgic feelings about those games where we're playing VR or what the hell the future has for gaming. These vibes come out, and this game visually just holds up in such a way that a bunch of other games don't. There are a bunch out there but it just makes you smile. It
does.
Pops. It's recognizable to a lot of degrees. It's just so arcadey, and that is a good thing, especially coming from a ancient gamer like myself.
If I can say something about the mechanics of the visuals for a bit, at least.
Go on, yeah.
I think that there's something to be said about this being an arcade game and how that had an impact on the game's visuals. So with the nature of arcades back in the day is that it made gaming accessible just by being in an arcade. Anyone could walk into an arcade,
That's right.
buy some tokens or use some quarters, and then they would be playing the game within seconds.
Yeah.
So this had to be accessible to the vast majority of people.
Yeah, very true, very true.
And I think that they managed to make this game very accessible through utilizing a lot of the visuals in this game. A lot of people in video games struggle to read a map. In the top right corner, video games now have a map. So what they did mechanically in this game, they completely left out the map, and they just 100% of the time put an arrow on top of your taxis to tell you where to go. If you've got a customer, there's an arrow on top of your taxi telling you where to go, which makes it visually so much more accessible for a lot of people.
And
a 6-year-old could play this game then.
But it adds a franticness to the energy of the game by doing that, right? Because it points the direction you are. It doesn't necessarily mean there's like a road or a clear way of getting it. You might have to take a jump. You might have to go under a bridge. You might have to accidentally go on 2 wheels. No, I agree. It's very hard, especially in the era, to find a game that, like you said, can captivate such an audience, be it young kids, being young adults, be it older adults, because it's all relating to, it's a job. It's just it's a taxi driving
Essentially,
job.
You're right. This is just the taxi simulator, but it's chaotic.
But it's chaos, and it's just fun and funky, and everything just oozes off the screen. And I can see why it was such a big hit. It does. And a lot of the visuals, insert coin here and stuff like that, it screams. It makes me sad to think that some people, like youngsters now, don't even really know what an arcade was like. That, I'm going into my nostalgia, right? An actual arcade. Damn, I don't think I've even seen one anymore, because it's all claw machines and win this prize and all that. It's not actually just gaming anymore, which always makes me a little sad. But that's just because I'm an old person. Anything else visuals?
No, I just really like the Dreamcast era of Sega games.
Oh hell yeah! It was a nice little time capsule of gaming.
What's the other one? Dreams.
Oh yes, that's right. Jeez.
No, Nights into. I can't remember.
Yeah, you've lost me there.
It is.
It was right.
Dreamcast Dreams.
I do.
It's called Nights into Dreams.
Ah, there you go. Classic. It was a classic era of gaming consoles. It was sadly.
Shit, but that's the Sega Saturn. I'm all mixed up.
Wow, you're young. You weren't around when those things came out. They're like mythos.
Ladies and gents, please excuse me.
Yes, you will be punished later. Don't worry.
Let's pretend that didn't happen and go into audio.
Audio man, what did you think of the audio to this game?
Listen. You know exactly what I'm about to say.
Again, my mind thinks to myself, were you into like punk rock? I'm trying to remember. Were you into
back then?
Okay.
No,
of course not.
But you cannot tell me that you played Crazy Taxi and did not vibe with the music while playing this game.
Well, it's one of those things. If you actually look at the reviews back in the day, the 1990s, and like the reviews of the games, the soundtrack was hit or miss.
What? No.
No, seriously. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. I was on the side of kind of loving it.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course. You can't not. You cannot not love the soundtrack for Crazy Taxi. The moment you boot this up, that just manic announcer voice tells you, "Hey, come on over and have some fun with Crazy Taxi."
It is that energy, isn't it? It's that come look here type energy. Come play this. Come look here.
Yes. And then the Offspring kicks in.
Now, I did have to ask my wife who the Offspring were, because I'd heard their name. I wasn't into this music when I was a kid either. But as I've grown up, like you said, you look back at this music and you go, okay, it wasn't actually that bad, and compared to music now, it's better, and, the old man type thing. But it works for this game. Did you know the other band, Bad Religion? I'm guessing that was
Bad
kind of
Religion. I've heard of them.
I'm guessing more American than I tend to know about.
I've actually heard some of their songs in passing.
Okay, fair.
Like they've got a song in this game as well, 10 in 2010.
Okay.
Big standout. Big standout. That song's great.
Again, it's the ability to match the song to the energy of the game that's always kind of like just really, really well. Do you know what bugs me about this? Because it does match so well, and it's so great. But do you know in the later versions of the games, they had to drop them. They had to drop the Offspring, they had to drop Bad Religion because the licensing fees were mental. And that kind of bugs me. Because how does Offspring know that like some of their fans didn't come off the game? This sold millions of units.
They must.
Their
they
songs
must
were on millions of play, like
they
gameplay.
must
like,
know that.
It seems kind of mean for them to like come back and try to renew the licenses.
No,
and
it's
then be
not
like,
mean.
Yeah.
It's they think. I mean, this was 1999, 2000, 2001. For the vast majority of companies, businesses, record labels, people in general just still thought video games were beneath them. It was a kid's hobby.
That is very true.
So with the Offspring getting so many fans off of a video game, I can see how they thought that was a bit embarrassing.
Well, they also did quite well in the music industry at that point. They had some hit records and stuff that had done well. So they did think. I can very much see the narrative where they thought they were better than it. And
exactly.
Yeah,
and they aren't Offspring.
No. It is very sad because it's strangely enough, culturally it's kind of changing now. Look at anime openings and video game things. Everybody wants their songs in games because of the big audience and stuff. But that always leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it was such a good match. And all they had to do was let them, like, really didn't really change
all they had
their
to do
lives.
Was leave it alone.
Yeah, I know. I just hate...
It
bugs me.
I've got the perfect example. Yeah. So, Biff, have you ever heard of the band Low Roar?
No.
You have, and I'll tell you how. That is the band that Hideo Kojima used throughout Death Stranding 1 and 2.
Damn it, I was going to say that because I can almost see that name in the bottom left or bottom right hand corner when you do one of your I can see it. Yeah, that's true.
See, you know who these people are. Yes. I'd be walking in a field, have some BTs to my right, and I'd be sneaking out to hide in the snowy mountains, and all of a sudden, through this panic, Low Roar would be playing while I'm playing Death Stranding. It's incredible.
It's goosebump type moment, yeah.
That's the exact opposite of what Offspring did to Crazy Taxi.
Yeah. I hate that type of stuff. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Because it matched so well, and then later on they had to go to like royalty-free music, which of course is fine, but it's generic and it's a bit boring.
No, it's not fine.
I even tried to look at the voice actors of this game. And granted, voice acting is a bit of a push. They don't say that much. And none of them did much more than just this game. I don't know if they were like friends and family or something like that.
Even the announcer.
Oh, I didn't find. Strangely enough, the announcer wasn't on there. That's
insane. That's
Axel
the
and BB
biggest
and Gina.
voice acting for this entire game. Crazy Taxi.
But on the other side, the game's very manic. The soundtrack matches. I was a fan of it. I don't know why some people would be put off it. But even I'm kind of finding the good in it here. Some audio for the passengers was specific to their jobs. Like they're like I don't know if you picked up a priest. A priest would bless you whilst like driving the car, and like you take him of course to church because where else?
Of course, the priest goes to the church.
And even a baseball player is the audio for it is very specific to being a baseball player or being a bit of a jock and not being super smart
great.
and stuff like that.
There's some heart put into this,
and just like middle-aged women telling you slow down, like it is. Oh god, it's just a bubble of era that's just so good.
It is good. But that makes me want to ask you something. The announcer for this game.
Yes.
It's incredible. But would you say that the announcer for Crazy Taxi is GOODBAD?
Yes, GOODBAD. Yes, agreed. It is GOODBAD. It's if like for example, if you had a cabinet in the back of your room all day and you just kept hearing him, you'd get driven mental. You'd drive out your mind. But if you're just walking past, back in the day, you're walking past an arcade and you hear Time Crisis and Asteroids or Centipede or whatever the hell, and then you hear that voice, you're drawn to it. That's the coolest. Like, who are they speaking to me? Is he speaking to me? Can I be a taxi driver?
Are you saying this absolutely insane, manic, mental announcer was used as a marketing tactic in arcades?
Yes. Of course it was. Yes. It's come look at me. Arcades is competitive, right? Like the arcade space.
Well, yeah, each one of those battling for your attention.
That's right. I like, again, in the arcades, I was a very Time Crisis type of guy. I loved Time Crisis. And even those were always just playing the clips of the dramatic moments saying, this does call you out. This calls you to come play it compared to other games, which I agree. Yes, I think that is an advertising aspect and a clever use for audio ball accounts. It's a shame I couldn't find his voice actor because, he wasn't too bad. It had that same manic energy to it.
Maybe it could be one of those. Maybe it could be one of those jobs, like the original Resident Evil live action intro cast members.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, and like
they never actually got credited for that live action intro.
But it is. I agree. I can only imagine like the voice actors that have kind of diminished or disappeared into the fog of like the old industry. Because today they get a lot of recognition and stuff like that, as they should, by all accounts. But it does make you wonder how many of them are out there saying, "Oh, I was the announcer for Mortal Kombat for like 6 years."
Or not even that, but they were in their like early 20s and just did a job in college to kind of pay for food. They don't even know that some of these voice acting gigs they did 30, 40 years ago have turned into legendary roles.
Isn't that just like we joke all the time because we work with someone called Sonia, and every time we say her name, we hear the Mortal Kombat Sonia. like, but that's how important it is. Those things stick with you. I don't know who said it, but those voice actors and things like that really do stick with you in regards to the games you love and enjoy.
Absolutely. Speaking of enjoy,
yes,
that's a perfect segue into gameplay. Did you enjoy it? What kind of a question is that? Of course, I enjoyed this game.
Did you enjoy the gameplay? Did you get hours and hours and hours out of the gameplay?
No, I think I got minutes.
Yeah, this it's fun. It is fun, and
in extremely short bursts.
Well, like one thing, like again, ladies and gents, this game was revolutionary.
Yeah,
it led, like, for example, this game was so notable is that Grand Theft Auto. Even the Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, 2, I can't remember if it was in 1. They added taxi driving in their games because of the popularity of Crazy Taxi. Did you know that?
Whoa,
Every Grand Theft Auto, you can steal a cab, and then you can switch on the lights so that you can pick people up and drop them off.
Dang.
That was entirely due to Crazy Taxi being so popular. They added it as a mechanic into Grand Theft Auto games. So this is a legacy game. Go on.
That's incredible. That's great. The Grand Theft Auto changing up gameplay because of an effect that another game had.
Yes.
That's great because this game is genuinely fun.
It is fun. It is
definitely fun, but although I can absolutely see that the gameplay loop that they've created for Crazy Taxi not, I'd say, being enjoyable in long bursts.
This
is something you put in a couple of quarters for. You get your fill in a minute and a half.
That's it.
And you kind of play one more time or you move on.
Yeah, it's again, that's such a tough one because it is built for the arcade tab cabinet, because you're right.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a limit to how long you play. You're trying to stretch that limit as far as you can with the skill, variant and a bit of luck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is fun.
It's like,
I found
it's like the first time I got my Wii. All I had was Wii Sports,
great.
Which is
love Wii Sports.
Again, who doesn't?
Oh, Wii Sports is great.
Wii Sports is incredible.
Yeah, it's good.
We played Wii Sports for a bit, and then we thought, okay, are we gonna play all of these sports again?
Yeah, well, we had that same thought, and then we were like, okay, let's up things, and we used to get drunk And like in the baseball and stuff, if you got caught by the
perfect.
CPU, you had to drink. No, Wii Sports, great game. Good, bad, but great game. But I do get what you mean. Did that gameplay keep you coming back to play some more baseball?
No,
or bowling,
I cannot play for, let's say, 2-3 hours straight.
No, nor can I. Not anymore. Maybe with a bit of alcoholic encouragement, but no. And would you say you would pick up and play this game again after this review? Like, would it call you to come and try out being a taxi driver again?
That's tough. Yes and no.
Yeah, it's a no for me. It's.
I would like to say yes because this is a good game, but if I think about playing this, then I think about the other games that I'd rather play.
Yeah, no, that again, one of the privileged positions we have today, and with this podcast, there's so many games out there that you want to play and pick and
oh yeah.
Again, there's so much nostalgia to this game that I think it's great. There was a bit of mechanics depending on the fares you pick up, the color, be it red would be very short, low profit, and yellow would be medium, and light green would give you more money, and it was kind of like more profit. So there was a little bit of degree of like route management if you really wanted to optimize your money making and get into the top of the leaderboard.
Because I realized eventually that the customers all stay at the same place, and the same customers eventually want to go to the same places.
Yes,
so if you start a new run and you've played this game enough, you know that the 3 customers in front of you all go to the same place that they've always wanted to go to.
It gets a little repetitive, right? You can learn each fare very quickly.
Yeah, but that's when some people would then optimize.
Yes, lock in. Like, need to get there. I'm sure there are leaderboards out there where the fares are just mental, out of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, if that's what you like doing. But I think I'd get too bored too quickly, and the controls, like you said, are fairly janky in regards to
it takes some time. It takes some time to get used to. The driving is incredibly sensitive, which I think is part of the point, because you've got the steering wheel in the arcade. You meant?
Yes, exactly right. And it's charming from an older gamer perspective. For today's games, I always think to myself, what would a younger person do if they tried playing this game? Would it engage their attention longer than 5 seconds? Like, but the handling's all clunky, and I think
you know what? I think it's definitely going to be a case of what it used to be like playing this in the arcade. It's going to be one round, and then time runs out, and then people are going to say, "Oh, that was fun. I'm done with it now."
But another fun thing I meant to mention earlier is that we say this on all these things, but Sega is in the process of making a new Crazy Taxi. It's one of their IPs in their things that they haven't cancelled. They haven't cancelled the Crazy Taxi IP that they're supposed to be developing. Yeah, they're supposed to be on the. There's no to be announced, but there is supposed to be a Crazy Taxi on its way. Which is crazy.
Like for home consoles.
I kid you not. It's that same. Remember, I don't know if it was Summer Game Fest or one of the ones where they teased like a Shinobi remake, and I don't know what else it was, like Golden Axe or something like that.
Oh, I think
Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, okay, I remember this. Yes, they had loads of vintage classics.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Which they
Golden Axe was one of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Crazy Taxi was one of the others. And after all like the layoffs, and there's some bit turbulation within Sega, those games have not been scrapped. There's been no news of those games being scrapped. So there could be a new Crazy Taxi game on the way. Which somehow the list knew, gave us this game, and all held the list. I
all
don't
held
know
the
how
list.
It knows this. So yeah,
I don't know either, but the list knows. The list is sentient. Somehow, my good mate told me this the other day. The list gave us The Long Dark.
Yeah.
The Week.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
The final chapter released.
Yeah. Again, ladies and gents,
after 8 years, the fan base was waiting for their final chapter. The list gave us The Long Dark. The week it released.
And we're not like, ladies and gents, we're not like using Grok or like Gemini or ChatGTP. This is a relatively simple Excel spreadsheet of just thousands of games that we randomized.
It really is. Although I think it might have grown a mind of its own.
Oh, yes. No, it's like any of those horror movies. The internet's connected to our PCs. The Excel spreadsheet went to the internet. It's grown.
Yeah.
It's using everyone's CPU. Oh, no, it's dangerous. We're talking the like Skynet levels of danger.
Oh, yeah. This giant list of video games is just Skynet.
Yeah, it is Skynet. It's going to be the first. Sarah Connor's going to come to our front door one day and be like, it's your fault. But yeah, so Crazy Taxi could be on its way. This might be still, we might be completely wrong, and everybody wants to play it, and everybody can't wait to get addicted to the simple taxi mechanic.
But that's the thing, though. That's simple. The simplicity. Mm-hmm. It really is simple. It's a very easy to understand premise, and despite the simplicity, the gameplay loop is solid.
Yeah, I just kind of hope, like, I look forward to some sort of narrative being packed in, because...
Agreed, some narrative.
A little bit of a carrot for me, and the gameplay that this kind of has, yeah, I can see myself putting some
I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath for some Yakuza level type story.
Oh, could you imagine? Could you, like, a full-on Yakuza game, but it's a Crazy Taxi in between?
Yeah, it's the taxi mafia.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this one taxi driver from out of town comes in, and he needs to start from the ground up.
Actually, it sounds great. Strangely enough, almost the story of the game, the Mafia, the original Mafia. You actually start as a taxi driver who joins the Mafia. But we all know that Sega's listening to this podcast, so Sega, hit us up. We've got some great ideas for your next Crazy Taxi.
And then when you publish this, you need to pay us legally.
Yeah, but legally first time. But if you want to use us later, you don't have to pay a licensing fee and stuff like that, because we don't like Offspring for doing that. So there's that too.
Yeah.
Anything else gameplay-wise, or do you want to go over
I think there's still loads in gameplay that we can talk about, like the weird transmission switching. I played on a controller, and it was so weird switching transmissions between going forwards and reversing, but we don't have to. We can move to performance.
What do you think performance-wise, then?
I think that the physics sometimes feel completely broken.
Oh, hell yes. Yes, it does. This is taxi driving, Nick.
It's one of those cases where the game designers looked at the game at the end and definitely told each other, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, I agree. There was one part where I dropped a fare off, and for some reason I landed just on 2 wheels. And I got a great combo string out of it. There was no reason I was on 2 wheels, but it just finished on 2 wheels, and I got like $5, and I was like, hell yeah. This is what it's all about. I wasn't even like going downhill.
If you insist, Crazy Taxi.
Exactly. That's what's so crazy about the taxi world that we live in. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard not to see it. I see it as charming, but it's a bit mental. It does feel like, okay, we're done. We're not touching it.
It's a bit too mental for its own good.
Maybe that's the crazy. Maybe
the crazy is the phase we made along the way.
Yeah, exactly. It would have just been called Taxi, and then they went, "Wait a minute, this is a bit broken. No, just call it Crazy. That's all you need.
Let's add some chemical X."
Yeah, exactly, and that's it.
I remember.
Go on.
Clearly crashing into walls.
Yes.
And then the game would just fling me in weird directions, because it almost felt like the game had no idea what to do with the momentum I had.
Yes, yeah, I know.
So it just pointed me in a different direction and kept my momentum going, as if I drove into a rubber wall.
It kind of got confused because it was trying to like render the graphics.
Yes, it confused
and your
itself
direction.
and just did something and told you, don't worry about that.
That's fine.
Bit.
That's normal.
Keep playing.
That's how this game look. Here, have an extra combo value for doing that. No, I agree. It is kind of broken, but in kind of a fun, good way.
Exactly, and I'm pretty sure I must have seen dozens of bugs, but I didn't notice them because of the chaos on screen.
No, exactly. That's the crazy. You're gonna slap Crazy on it. Done. Fixed.
Yeah. Okay, Crazy Taxi. Crazy Clear Obscure. Crazy
Skyrim.
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, that's it. Just whack Crazy edition on every one of them. What do you think for value for money then?
So this one's weird. Usually I go for if the game can give you a valuable experience, even if it is a short amount of time, I would say that's value for money. But that short amount of time is being just absolutely compressed in this part, because you can get the complete Crazy Taxi experience in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, and you can reach the leaderboard, like the just like the CPU type leaderboard, the top of it, in about 30. Like
Not
you can do
even.
30 minutes
surprised.
of fairs. Well, granted, there's a little bit of difficulty. If you get a bit lost and you don't get to the last one, it's game over. You don't go that extra
Well,
lives.
yeah, this game's difficult, but it's quick. That's a classic arcade game.
Yes, exactly. They want you to put another coin in, so that's kind of like one of the premises in the whole thing. But yeah, value for money wise, it's pretty short. It
is. I got down here that on paper, Crazy Taxi is extremely bare bones.
Yes, on paper.
Phenomenally bare bones.
Agreed.
But
it's just picking up fares, yeah.
the replayability is enormous.
Yeah,
This game released 25 years ago, and people are still playing Crazy Taxi.
Well, it's one of those things.
The replayability is incredible.
One of those things I looked at physical copies because I was just intrigued. Yeah. Is it one of those ones that got short printed or anything? It's not. It got printed on like I said on every console, and it had physical editions on pretty much every console as well.
This is Sega we're talking about,
and you can buy them for like $5 to $10. It's not. It's not hard to get hold of one. But when I was looking at like eBay and Amazon and all the places you can look for these games, I thought to myself, well, you've got to have it in your collection. Like,
yeah,
you might not play it, and it might not be the longest game in the world, but it's Crazy Taxi. It's a legacy game.
It's Crazy Taxi. This is the type of game that if you fetch your PS2 from the attic, you plug it in, and you browse your box sets. Mm-hmm. This is one of the games that you're gonna pop in and just try out.
It's one of those games you go back to and play another 30 minutes and go, yeah, that was fun, and then you put it away and then you do it the same thing next year. It is
exactly.
It's a game you do have to own.
Exactly that. Yes,
it is so strange.
Absolutely agree.
But yeah, so value for money, I didn't give it because it's so short, but there was just tugging on my strings in the top of the back of my head. It's like you've got to have it. You've got to, if you're a gamer and you love games, Crazy Taxi has to be in your on your bookshelf.
Oh, absolutely. You know what, I completely understand why Crazy Taxi's become such a cult classic among the fans.
Yes. Again, you were just a wee baby when it came out. I wasn't too much older. But again, the legacy it leaves behind. And there could be a new one. And there was almost a film. And look at other things with taxis.
Crazy Taxi left a lot of skid marks on the industry.
Yes, exactly. And hopefully they come back. Like, who doesn't love a skid mark?
I hope so too. I don't know what they can do to kind of bring Crazy Taxi into the modern age. Because it's definitely got the Crazy Taxi core gameplay loop's definitely going to be at the center of it. But they should just add some meat, right?
Yeah, I think they will. Sega's not been doing too bad recently.
More things to do. What else do taxis do? Sit in traffic?
Everything, Nick. Taxis do everything. No, I don't know. There was, I keep thinking, all I think of is the Robert De Niro movie Taxi Driver, which was a great movie. People should watch that movie. And then in my mind, I get that taxi car from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Did you ever watch that movie? Are you old enough to have watched it?
No, of course not.
Oh, damn. The taxi in that was pretty cool. Where they go with this story, I do agree, because I think to myself, is it going to be like Dead Set Radio, or what was it called? Red Set? What was that?
Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio. That kind of had a slight story to it. I'm guessing they'll do some kind of like weird.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Boards or a territory type taxi thing.
I hope so, because these games harken back to a very much simpler age.
Yes.
Of video gaming, and video games are kind of moving back into that as well.
I love it.
Right? If I take a look at Space Marine 2,
or even like Cuphead. And things like that. Those are like old arcade shooter games, which again,
exactly,
love
just
seeing it.
simple video games. I hope Crazy Taxi can pull something off like that.
So after all that, how did Crazy Taxi hold up? What score did we give this amongst the?
Our scores for Crazy Taxi were having a wonderful, relaxing afternoon, having a cup of tea, some rusks, maybe a cheesecake, on the side of a road at a cafe.
Nice.
And I'm guessing you'll know where this is going.
I'm intrigued how many people know what rusks are, by all accounts.
Probably not a lot.
I'm about to say, that's kind of a South African thing to my knowledge. I know we
Really
kind of
is.
had them in England, but go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Until all of a sudden, whoa, there's a green-haired white guy in a Hawaiian shirt barreling with his taxi with a priest in the back through everyone and their rusks. Until only one customer remained sitting enjoying her sweetened tea, and that was the letter grade rating of C-, which feels like a very low score. It does.
It does, but if for an arcade game, an arcade cabinet game, that is not a low score.
I know.
It's just, it's only slightly slightly lower than Ninja Gaiden 4.
I know, but it deserves more. I think that's the one flaw we've got with our scoring system. Pulling Crazy Taxi apart critically reveals just how little actual substance there is beneath the hood, and that's not fair. That's not fair towards a game like this.
It is a sad thing. You're absolutely right, because you, like I said, if you wrote this on paper, like what the story and the premise is, it's 3 lines. Taxi driver fares San Francisco, and that's it. And I keep thinking to myself, oh yeah, but that was the era. No, there were good games that came out in 1999 that were far more narratively built, far more visually appealing.
2 years before that, we had Final Fantasy VII.
That's what I mean.
4 years before that, we had Metal Gear Solid 1. We even, was it 1990? Somewhere in the 90s, we had Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
there were good narrative games, thick, meaty, bony narrative games. This just wasn't one of them.
That's what I mean. So it's not that bad. C-, because against all those other games that also came out in that era and at that time, this
no, Crazy Taxi deserves better than C-.
Okay, well, it is what it is. Don't you question our marking
I
system.
won't.
What are you doing, man?
I won't.
We're the most honest marking system that the internet has right now. We're unbiased. We just talk crap, and yes, we have nostalgia goggles. So add that.
We do, and there's nothing you can do about it.
No, exactly right. I exactly right.
Anyway, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Critical Arcade Podcast. You could leave us a review. Doing that voice at the start of this episode genuinely mucked up my voice for this entire episode.
Yeah, it's not easy to try do an American accent.
No,
you have to be tougher.
I can't be a voice actor.
That's it. No, well, not yet. You just need to.
Not yet. Not yet.
Remember, you could be the next. What's his name?
Dirk
Van der Merwe, or whatever the hell his name was from Screamer. That could be you next year, right? Never say never.
No, I won't. Follow us on YouTube, the podcast platforms, all of that. Dave, where can we follow you?
Well, you can follow me, but during the process of playing this game, I had a good conversation with my boy, BD Joe, and I found out why he's got such a terrifying grin all the time. It's not a pleasant story. It takes the dystopian mind of was it Del Toro? What's his first name? I never remember his
Guillermo.
first name. Guillermo. Yeah, that guy. He has seen some stuff, and I will put you through the same things that poor man has seen through, and you will slowly develop a Joker-esque, pearly white filled smile to scare away every person you meet or dare to get close to.
Is that what's going on with BD Joe? He just has severe post-traumatic stress disorder.
It's haunting. There is something wrong with that man. I appreciate he's going to work every day, but there is something hauntingly upsetting about that man's smile. And it will happen to you,
have to agree.
by all accounts. If you come and see me, I will make that happen.
Don't follow Dave. Don't do it. Rather, Dave, how about you tell us, what have we got lined up for next week?
Next week, again, we say this every time, but we do genuinely look forward to any indie game that seems to come across our path. All hail the list. We get to play a game that sounds like an old people's home to some degree. It's called Dear Esther, which, all right, it's got me slightly intrigued. I feel like
I know it's a walking sim. That's it.
In a frames, in an old people's home, going to get a cake or something like that. It sounds like a game where you just go see your grandma. Maybe it's a banger. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But look forward to taking on Dear Esther next week.
And we'll see you then.
Yeah, listen up. Listen.
Cheers.
Cheers.